In a busy village, there lived a young man named Kian. He was smart and had big dreams, but he hated doing hard work. "Why do today what I can do tomorrow?" he would say. His house was half built. His farm was empty. His debts kept growing. But Kian always told himself, "I'll start soon, just not today." One evening, as he sat by the river avoiding work, an old man appeared. "You seem troubled, young man," the old man said. Kian sighed. "I have so much to do, but work is just too tiring." The old man smiled and handed him a golden rope. "This is the rope of time. If you ever want to skip something difficult, just pull it. You will wake up in the future where everything is already done." Kian's eyes widened. "You mean I can skip all the boring and difficult parts of life?" "Exactly," the old man said. "But use it wisely." And then he vanished. That night, Kian overslept. The next morning, he groaned at the thought of plowing his fields. "Why struggle when I can just skip ahead?" He pulled the golden rope. Suddenly, he was standing in a field full of crops. Months had passed in an instant. Kian laughed. "This is amazing." Then came a village festival. He had promised to help with the decorations, but the work seemed too tiring. He pulled the rope again. The festival was already over. People talked about how wonderful it had been. But Kian had missed it. Years passed too quickly. Days turned into years. Every time he faced a challenge, learning a skill, fixing his home, caring for his parents, he pulled the rope, skipping ahead to a time when everything was already done. One day, he met a kind woman named Lena. She saw the good in him and agreed to marry him. On their wedding day, feeling nervous about being a husband, he pulled the rope again. When he opened his eyes, years had passed. Lena stood beside him, but she had grown old. Their children were now adults, strangers to him. His hand shook. How much time had he skipped? Kian ran to the pond and looked at his reflection. His face was old. His youth was gone. The golden rope in his hands had become thin and weak. A deep fear gripped him. He had spent his whole life avoiding difficulties, skipping forward, but in doing so, he had skipped life itself. Desperate, he pulled the rope one last time, hoping to start over. But this time, nothing happened. The rope had snapped. Kian fell to his knees. His heart pounded. He whispered, "I don't want to skip anymore. I want to live." A gentle voice spoke behind him. "Have you learned your lesson, young man?" Kian turned around. The old man from the river stood there, smiling. Before Kian could speak, the old man tapped his staff on the ground. The world around Kian spun faster and faster, his memories, his regrets, his lost moments swirling like a storm. Then, everything went dark. When Kian opened his eyes, he was back in his bed. The golden rope lay beside him, untouched. The sun was just rising. His house was still half-built. His fields were still empty. He gasped. Was it all a dream? But deep inside, he knew it wasn't. Kian jumped out of bed. He grabbed his tools and rushed outside. He plowed his fields, rebuilt his house, and worked harder than ever before. Moral of the story: struggles and challenges are not obstacles to avoid but experiences that shape us. Every hardship we face teaches us valuable lessons, strengthens our character, and helps us grow. By skipping difficulties, we miss out on the wisdom, skills, and strength that come from overcoming them. True success and fulfillment come not from avoiding work, but from embracing life's journey, both the good and the difficult. Life is meant to be lived, with all its struggles and triumphs, for it is through them that we truly grow.